This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning and welcome everybody to our March 14th, 2024 Lander County Board of Commissioners meeting. All times on this agenda are approximate. Consideration of items may require more or less time than is scheduled. Items on the agenda may be taken out of order. The public body may combine two or more agenda items for consideration, and the public body may remove an item from the agenda or delay discussion relating to an item on the agenda at any time. Public comment is designated for discussion only. The public has the opportunity to address the commission on any matter not occurring on the agenda. However, no action may be taken on any matter raised until the matter itself has been specifically included on the agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. Additionally, public comment may be heard on any item listed on the agenda. Persons are invited to submit comments in writing and or attend and make comments on any agenda item at the Lander County Commissioners Board meeting. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person at the discretion of the commission. Please note that the public body may interrupt the open meeting and exclude the public for the purpose of having an attorney-client discussion of potential and existing litigation, which is pursuant to NRS 241-015-3B2. I'll call this meeting to order. Kathy, would you read some of the posts this morning?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have a moment of silence. Lander County Commissioners may break for lunch from 12 p.m. to 1:15 p.m. Any agenda item may be taken out of order, may be combined for consideration by the public body, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Commissioners' reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended. Mike, we'll start with you.
I don't have anything to report.
JR?
No, I have nothing to report.
Okay. Kathy?
I attended a Lexi meeting day before yesterday, and it was just the generalized and getting ready for budgets and things like that.
Okay, thank you. Dee?
Tomorrow, I'm going to a NACO workshop on best practices for energy development for a county perspective. And this is all about green energy and where the counties are going.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move into staff reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended.
Good morning, Commission. My staff and myself, or I should say department heads and myself, went to, why we missed the last two commission meetings is we've been in training with Pool Pack for HR training. That was really good. We learned a lot about a whole bunch of different things. So I want to thank all my staff. Everybody passed. I think Brian got the certificates emailed to him as the chair from Pool Pack. So that went well. I'd also like to thank Amadei's office and Chris Porter with the Porter Group and Holly Ellis who does our grant writing for us. We got awarded $2.8 million for our Safe Routes to School projects. So hopefully we'll be putting that to work for us here before long. Then I did present before the Tax Commission to keep us on the guaranteed status this last week, and we did stay on that, so that's good news. There's now only 2 counties remaining. That's us and Pershing County. So that costs the state additional money if they were to take us off of it, but it also saves us on that. So that's good news. And then JR will be excited because we got our first report of Mormon crickets. They're hatching, so we'll order us some more bait, and our cricket killer will take care of them. The last thing is we did get our update from our third-party review on the rail park. They'll be here on the 28th to present to this commission on what their findings are and then what their recommendations are moving forward. There's called the CAPS program, which goes through OSHA, and OSHA comes in and vets everything, and as what marks these boxes to hit this CAPS program is how much explosive material they'll be storing and different things like that. A lot of these companies come in and try to get just under that so they don't have to go through these vetting processes, but it'll be up to the commission whether we want to have these guys go through that and make sure that we check additional boxes. As of now, they didn't find anything that raised any red flags or major concerns, so that was good news as far as the third-party vetting to this point. The next level is a little bit further. Along with that, we're in our final stage of approval process with our rail spur there. The next thing is a rail access review, which is in Union Pacific's hands. So we'll be waiting for Union Pacific to get back to us and give us the approval to go out here and start building rail. Everything's moving along really nicely there. So everything else we have is on the agenda.
All right, thank you, Bert. All right, so we'll move into public comment for non-agenda items only. Is there public comment? Okay. We'll move into our consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action, without extensive discussion. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed, and acted upon separately during this meeting. Consent agenda materials are available at the Lander County Clerk's office for viewing, and copies are available for a nominal charge. 1, approval of March 14th, 2024 agenda notice. 2, approval of February 22nd, 2024 meeting minutes. 3, approval of February 14th, 2024 special meeting minutes. 4, approval of February 8th, 2024 meeting minutes. 5, approval of January 19th special meeting minutes. 6, approval of payroll change requests.
I'm trying to get, I don't mind making a motion, I'm just trying to figure out which ones are, what are we missing in numbers, so I don't.
We have 1, we have 3, we have 4, we have 5, and I believe that's it.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve said line items.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve 1, 3, 4, and 5. Is there a second?
Second it.
And a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We're going to jump to, we're take on 1.1 for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove payment of bills. We need to pull
We need
check number,
223049.
so we'll pull that one, and if we can have a motion
I'll
to
make
approve.
a motion to approve all the remaining bills.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the remainder,
I'll second it.
and there's a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion.
Oh.
Go ahead. You have the number in front of you.
I'll make a motion that we approve check 223049.
I'll second.
So I have a motion to approve that check, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I abstain as made to my employer. All right, so we're going to jump to 1.5 for our updated presentation from SSR Marigold Mining or Mine regarding operations. Welcome, guys.
Good morning, Commission. Jennifer Jonas, I'm the Community Relations Specialist from SSR Marigold.
Morning, everyone. My name is Anton Kruger. I'm the General Manager at Marigold.
And my name is Jesse Barton. I'm the Environmental Manager at Marigold.
So thank you very much for having us this morning. What we'd like to do is just give you guys an overview of our operation, a little bit of an update on where we are and what we're up to. So more so to share some of what we believe adds a lot of value and employment in the area. For Jennifer to get that up for us. So what I'd like to do is start with what we call a value share or a safety share, which is typical for us to do on the mines. And something that some of you may have heard that's been very much in the news worldwide is one of our sister operations, also from SSR Mining in Turkey. We've had a significant slip or landslide on one of the leach pads. So terrible situation, and certainly something that's getting a lot of focus in our company at this point in time. Unfortunately, there's 9 people that's unaccounted for in that incident, so they're still searching for those people. And the second part of that incident is it's a fairly major environmental issue in Turkey. So a heap leach pad that failed ran down into a valley. It's a fairly mountainous area. and that valley actually connects up with the Euphrates River downstream. So at this stage, no contamination, so that's really good news for all of us, but a very serious situation, and our thoughts certainly within SSR and Marigold is with those guys that's unaccounted for, and everyone battling to get through that situation. Thanks. So just in short, who we are, SSR, we are a cash flow focused mid-tier gold producer. Our purpose is to add value through our legacy, leave a positive legacy behind, and our values are listed there on the screen, so I'll quickly run through them. People and culture, really do value all of our employees and all of the people in the communities in which we operate in. Sustainability, I mean, that's at the forefront. I mean, whatever we do, we want to make sure we do that safely, and also make sure that we act and operate responsibly within the environments that we do operate in. From a health, the next one there is health, safety and risk. We've got a very measured approach to risk. We tend not to do things that put people's lives unnecessarily in danger, and people is the focus of our operation. Next up is business excellence. We try and do things better, grow the business because everyone benefits from that. Innovation is another core value for us. We like to be at the forefront of technology. We won't go out and experiment, but we will certainly make sure we use best practice in all of our operations. And then lastly, growth. I mean, building a sustainable business. Mining is one of those businesses that at some point inevitably they will come to an end. But to make sure that we invest in growth and make sure we can extend mine lives as long as practically possible for everyone to benefit from them. So a couple of slides really just for interest and really why gold. So there's a lot of gold mines around this neck of the woods. Gold's an interesting commodity. It's the only reason we mine it is because it's rare. And I mean, it sounds really simple, but no one really thinks about that too often. So when I say it's rare, it's got a concentration of about 0.004 parts per million occurring naturally in the Earth's crust, which is really scarce. If you compare that with copper at 60 parts per million, you've got to move a lot more dirt to find a single grain of gold. To put that in perspective, you've got to basically move 250 million tonnes of dirt on average on Earth to get a tonne of gold. That's a huge lot of material to move. The other reason why it's important is it's a store of value. So historically, there's a saying that says an ounce of gold historically would have bought you a decent suit. That held true in the 1920s when gold was running at a price of $37 an ounce. That's still true today. I mean, at roughly $2,000 an ounce, you could buy a fairly fancy suit with an ounce of gold. How much gold's ever been mined? I mean, that picture over there, that cube's about 70 feet by 70 feet. That's all the gold that's ever been mined in the world. So if you put it like that, I mean, it really shows how scarce gold is. A little bit closer to Marigold, we started in 1988. That's when the mine went into production. Couple of major milestones on that slide through our life, but last year a major milestone for us in 2024, we've declared a maiden ore resource at Buffalo Valley, which is our next major project that we are investing in at Marigold. From a production point of view, we're averaging about 200,000 ounces of gold a year that we mine. Last year stands out. I mean, that's the last light blue bar on the left-hand side. For us, it was a record production year for Marigold at 278,000 ounces of gold. This year, a little bit lower production, this year and next year, and the reason for that is we're investing heavily in pre-strip of the next layback in the open pit. So that's really setting us up for the future over there. Mining rates, we do about 300,000 tonnes a day from our fleet, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. But that's a fairly decent mining rate for an open pit. From a mineral resource and ore reserve point of view, we've got about 2.8 million ounces on the books, and that sort of underpins a mine life of roughly 10 to 12 years at the moment. From an operations point of view, our mining fleet, we've got 4 shovels, one big rope shovel, 4100, and 3 hydraulic shovels, plus a fleet of 28 ultra-class trucks. So for us in the mine, to produce 1 ounce of gold, we basically got to move 450 tonnes. Of that, about 90 tonnes of that would be waste, would be ore, which we'll place on a leach pad. And that'll result in a single ounce of gold. So it's a fairly low-grade operation. Lots of bulk earth moving has to happen for us to make gold. The map on the right-hand side shows an overview of our mine site with a series of pits, and those pits will be mined through our life of mine, which is permitted at the moment. From a processing point of view, basically we pick up everything we mine, we put that on a leach pad, and we irrigate that with a weak cyanide solution. The cyanide solution dissolves the gold, and we pick that back up in our CRC circuit, which we basically precipitate that gold solution onto carbon, finally into a furnace, and then we make some gold bars. So again, to put it in perspective in terms of volumes, about 23 million gallons of barren solution that we pump every day on those leach pads. 78 gallons of pregnant solution gets processed in our CRC circuit to produce a single ounce of gold. And then we basically melt all of that down in a furnace that goes up to 200 degrees, which gives us gold bars at roughly about 90% purity. So in terms of future growth, I've touched on that already. Buffalo Valley is probably our next long-term target. We've started the work around that. So it's got further growth potential, but at this stage we've just declared about 145,000 ounce resource on that late last year. So we started work to do a pre-feasibility study, which will be finished this year, to convert that into reserves. And that's probably got the potential to grow up to another 270,000 ounces in there. So it's fairly close to Marigold. It's about 10 kilometres, just over 6 miles away from the existing pit. We will be serviced through everything, all the facilities that we've already got set up over there. So this year the plan over there is some more drilling. Quite a bit of drilling that's got to be done, but some encouraging results in that bottom table from drilling that we've already received. So that's it from me on a general business update. I'll hand over to Jesse to talk through some of the environmental side.
Yeah, good morning. So just a quick slide here on permitting updates, some of the work we've done recently and then some of the work we're doing now and that's coming up in the near future. The last environmental impact statement that was done about 5 years ago, and it was called the Mackey EIS. And I bring that up because up until that point, Marigold had gone over 30 years without having to do any dewatering. So the significant thing with this EIS was it studied impacts from dewatering and mining below the water table. That was authorized in October of 2019, and we did start dewatering in late 2020, early 2021. So we've been dewatering now for a little over probably 3 years. We did yesterday actually an annual update to the Nevada Division of Water Resources on the dewatering program, and ultimately it's a fairly positive story up until this point. We are dewatering in line with what our models had projected, and actually a little bit better than that, meaning we're finding there's more geologic structures and compartmentalization. So what that really means is we can pump less water to be able to mine the same pits that we had. And we infiltrate that water back through rapid infiltration basins. So we pump the water up and we put it back into the ground further up of the mine. So overall, the dewatering program is working pretty well. I think last year we averaged about 3,000 gallons a minute. That'll increase over the next few years. We're projecting somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 gallons a minute will be the max dewatering rate. The last federal permitting action that was done was an environmental assessment completed in April of 2023. And the main impacts that were studied there were impacts to sage grouse, golden eagles, and then cultural resources. So you can see on the figure on the right side there, that blue circle illustrates where that permitting action focused. There is some sage-grouse habitat in that area, which we did some mitigation for to offset the impacts. There's a few gold eagle nests that we're working through with U.S. Fish and Wildlife on that side of things. And then a couple of cultural sites that we also permitted for mitigation. On the state level, we recently permitted, there was recently a permit put in place to long-term dewater and put water back into the rapid infiltration basins. That was issued in October, so we're fully permitted for that dewatering system and infiltration back into the aquifer there. And then I mentioned some of the permitting in progress. We're finishing up the permitting for the Golden Eagles, as well as the state permitting that has to happen for that Valmy expansion. Future permitting, the water pollution control permit, we just got a 5-year renewal that we're working on right now. And then the big one that's forthcoming, Anton mentioned, is around the Buffalo Valley property. The one thing that might be of interest to this group is the Marigold mine is all in Humboldt County, and the Buffalo Valley property that we purchased, you can see in the figure on the left there is that bold red line is in Lander County. So that's the first property that we fully own that's in the Lander County area. We are starting to do some early baseline study work for that in preparation for probably an EIS that'll have to happen there in the next couple of years. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. All right, so what I'm going to give you is just a little update on our community relations and what we're doing in communities here. To start off, I wanted to give you an overview of what we're looking at when we're talking about community and sustainability for SSR Marigold. We not only look at donations in the community and what we're doing in the community, but that we're responsible environmental stewards, and that our safety and health we take a proactive approach to. The people that work at our mine are part of the people that live in our community in Winnemucca and Battle Mountain, so we want to make sure that we return them home safely every day. Then, of course, we have our engagement and investment in the communities that we work on. Over the last, sorry, I'm going to have to get down here without my glasses. In 2022, overall, as a company, we invested $2.5 million in our communities through investments and, scholarships, which we'll look at another slide later on, a few down, to go over exactly what we spent last year. Also, when we're talking about our commitment to our people, we do a lot of things in the community that not only are our donations, but that we're looking at investing in our high school students to get them scholarships or to work with trade programs. We go into the schools and let them know what mining is and what their opportunities are, because we would love to see more people come out of our schools and our local areas where we're growing our own employees versus having employees come from outside of our communities. So some of the community activities that we've been involved in lately have been the Bass Winterfest dinner and the crab feed. We enjoyed that. Kadra did a great job at the crab feed this year. We just recently participated in volunteering with the schools at the junior high with the buddies for lunch, which was a great presentation. The top picture that you see there of all of us at the junior high are the first day folks that volunteered to come out and sit with a student, listen to them talk about what they learned for their 8 habits. Last week we also sponsored Jeff Yalden. He came out to the high school and to the junior high and did some presentations, talked with kids in between those presentations, and additionally he presented a professional development to the teachers, and that was all part of their suicide prevention week and suicide prevention training. I attended his assembly at the high school, and it was pretty impactful. It was definitely something I think that had value for our students and our teachers. We also participate in the career fairs and the mine training cooperative program. We're actually coming up on that, so if you know of someone who is interested in getting into electrical, welding, diesel mechanics, we have a scholarship for that actually pays for their schooling through Great Basin, provides them with a certificate, as well as provides them with part-time work at one of the mines, whichever mine sponsors them, to be able to get on-the-job training and get paid for it while they are going to school. The great opportunity for us to, like I said, grow those employees from our local communities. And then some of the other things that we've done, being a blood drive sponsor, working at the business trick or treat, or working with the Chamber of Commerce, doing the Festival of Trees or Parade of Lights, working with the museum to help sponsor them. Those are just some other opportunities that we take in the community to be part of the community. Some upcoming events that we have, we're actually doing Gold Fever this afternoon at the Civic Center with all of the 4th graders, where we have several volunteers from different mines come out. We talk to the kids about gold and how it's found. They watch some cool videos, and then we sit down with them at tables and have them actually check out how to test some different rocks for hardness to figure out what they are. This weekend, we're also partnering with the high school to help with the duck pond cleanup. We partnered with Empire Cat to donate an excavator to be able to dredge out the pond for that part of that cleanup. And then we're also working this spring on our senior job shadows, where we bring students that are interested in mining careers out to the mine, and they shadow different folks in our positions, whether they're interested in engineering or welding or geology. They come out and check out what a job really is. We actually had last year, we had a young lady that came out for a job shadow that was 3 weeks away from school, end of school, and she didn't know what she wanted to do. She came out and shadowed one of our geologists and decided that that was what she wanted, applied to Montana Tech, got in, and is now in school to become a geologist. So it was a great success story for us as far as being able to bring somebody out that was local to get into a mining career. A little bit about our community spend that we did last year. We spent about $300,000 just in donations that we put back into the local communities between Battle Mountain and Winnemucca. As far as our employment, if you look at the lower right circle, you can see where we have about 96% of our employees are local, split up 63% in Winnemucca and about 23% in Battle Mountain. And then the rest are small 10% there in the green. If you can't read that, that's our Elko Spring Creek area folks. And then the last ones are scattered around different areas in Nevada where they come to work here and go back to their own community. If you look at our gender split, we're about 15% female and about 85% male. Still working on that to try and get more women out there, women in technology and STEM careers. And leading into those, talking about our workforce, these are some of the open positions we have right now. We have a QR code and website to make it easy for folks to apply. So we're always looking for those kind of positions, especially in our operations, equipment operators, truck drivers. And then one of the things that I am especially working on as far as community goes is we call it our community feedback form, or a grievance mechanism is a technical term for it. But it's for us to be able to provide an open and transparent framework for the community to be able to contact us if they have any issues or concerns or any comments. They can be positive comments as well. But we have this here for folks to be able to reach out to us, because how many times do you look up Marigold in the phone book and we're not there? I mean, pretty much we don't have that kind of access anymore. So this is an easy way for folks to be able to get in touch with us. And I actually have some of these flyers with us if anyone's interested in posting them or keeping them around for folks that want to get in touch with us. But that's something that we want to be able to provide feedback to the community if they have questions or comments, or there's issues, people don't understand what's going on or what we're doing. Last year we had some issues when that gravel pit came in that people thought that that was Marigold down near the highway. So we had calls and questions about that. So this is another way that folks can get in touch with us to ask us those kind of questions. And then another part of that as far as community is letting folks know that we have a donations committee and we have donations money, that we're constantly looking for new folks to be able to come in and request money from us for sporting events or cultural events, or helping with building things like the museum, The end of 2023, we donated $3,000 for the Battle Mountain Little League to get some new pitching machines, because the pitching machines they had were about 22 years old. So things like that we can look at sustaining. When we talk about Marigold building lasting relationships, we want to be able to build relationships that extend past the life of our mine, that we're helping the community to sustain even after we're gone. And lastly, the last thing that we focus on as far as our community is local procurement, and that's trying to use as many local vendors as we can and buy as many things as we can within our local communities. So if we have anyone who's interested in finding out about becoming a vendor or getting on the vendor list, these two folks that we have their QR codes there, or if someone needs, if they can contact me to get their contact information if they're interested in getting out on the mine site as a vendor. Okay, and with that, if anybody has any questions for us?
Does the board have any questions? Public have any questions or comments? Yes.
I just wanted to check in again on your program to teach kids about welding and some trades. Are you doing some of that here in Battle Mountain? I didn't quite catch what that.
It's through Great Basin College, so depending on what their emphasis is, it's either in Winnemucca or Elko on one of those two campuses.
Do we have some kind of a Great Basin extension, don't we, here in Battle Mountain?
Oh,
We
for
have a
trades.
small center,
Yeah.
but it's not equipped to be able to do the training program for that.
Okay, not yet.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having.
All right, we're going to move into, we're going to jump to 1.9 for discussion of possible actions to approve, disapprove the memorandum of understanding MOU between the operating engineers, Local 3 of the International Union of Operating Engineers, AFL-CIO, and the County of Lander, updating the salary schedule, steps, and positions list for the General Employee Bargaining Union effective July 1st, 2024. So do we have any questions from the board here? On what was presented? Morning.
Morning.
I don't have any questions because I contacted Liz
Okay.
ahead of time, so I understood everything. I don't want to say her like, I'm just blindly looking at it. I
Yeah.
contacted her because I wanted, the explanations on the stuff, so I'm comfortable with.
Any questions? Does the public have any questions, comments? Okay, I'll hear a motion on it.
I make a motion that we accept, the item as presented.
Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, we'll move into 1.10 for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove full-time hourly at-will employees to be paid according to the salary schedule proposed for adoption in the memorandum of understanding in item 1.9, effective July 1st, 2024. So basically, these are our at-will employees. So if there's no questions, I'll hear a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the item as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then we'll move into item 1.11 for discussion on possible action to approve, disapprove part-time, casual, and seasonal employees to remain on the previously approved salary schedule with no cost of living increase effective July 1st, 2024.
And I will make a motion to accept the item as presented.
Okay?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll get back on course with our agenda here. We'll pick back up at 1.2 for discussion and possible action on whether Lander County Code of Ordinances, including Title 8, Section 8.46, and Title 17, where appropriate, should be amended to allow additional types of marijuana or cannabis establishments to operate in Lander County, including retail dispensaries, processing facilities, distribution facilities, and testing facilities as authorized under NRS Chapter 678A through 678D, the locations where such establishments, if any, might be allowed, and to give staff direction to begin the work on any ordinances to accomplish any proposed amendments to the code.
So, Commission, before you guys get started in deliberation here, I need to abstain and make the community and the commission aware that I'm a managing member in Rural Remedies and a business partner with Joe Ramos, who will be on the phone today to get into discussion with this, and that my office and myself, that I have no hands-on with any of this marijuana stuff because of my affiliation with this. And I just want to double check with legal to make sure that that disclosure is adequate.
Yeah, you're not voting, so.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, so I will step out of the room, and when this discussion's over, you guys can have something to grab.
Thank you for the disclosure, Bert. So, I guess I'll let Kathy start with it, because she can explain why it was put on and why we're discussing it today.
Yeah, so yes, I was the one that actually tried to find out who was the license holder for this. Obviously, you can tell that I have issues. And so, and I cannot remember who advised me to try to use THC. At some point, my disease has degenerated so badly that I was unable to speak or swallow, chew. And so somebody had mentioned to me, and I don't like getting high, so I'm not gonna smoke anything, and I didn't want to do that. Let me tell you, people, the medication, any form of pain medication does nothing for this disease. No, there's nothing over that you can get for prescription that stops the pain, that will stop the degeneration, that will do anything. Now, THC does not stop the degeneration of this disease. However, these patches people see I wear under my ears, those are THC patches. And those are the only thing that allow me to open my mouth and speak, to swallow, to do anything. And I've started to make this joke that, have any of you sucked salmon through a straw? Until you have, then you would know what I was starting to. I could not eat, and I had to suck everything through a straw. I still have to suck a lot of stuff through a straw. I have a very difficult time chewing, but these THC patches are the only thing that allow me to function at the rate that I am right now. So I found out that it was Mr. Ramos, and contacted him and asked him to please come before you guys to bring this item back. And so I was one of the people, and I'm going to rightly admit it, when they brought this before to have this put on the agenda, it was like 61% of the taxpayers on the voting taxpayers was against this item. And I was wholeheartedly against it because I did not want drugs in schools and things like that. And so I had to actually contact one of the people that I spoke with originally to tell him I swear that I'm not a traitor in this idea, but medicinal use of THC is absolutely remarkable, and it allows me to live at the rate that I am right now. And so like I said, I contacted Mr. Ramos to have him bring this item back, that we have it done legally. And with that, I'm also going to say, there's a friend of mine in town, and her next door neighbors grow THC, and you're supposed to be allowed to have however many per person per plant, which is a ridiculous amount, that you cannot sit outside in her yard and enjoy her yard because it smells like marijuana, the grow of marijuana, which I know is not being done the legal way it should be, and it's not sprayed with chemicals, and it's not being sold to children. And so if there's a better, we can get rid of that to where people in this community cannot sell it illegally, and it has to be, are they still going to do it? Of course, I wasn't born yesterday. I worked at the sheriff's office for 30 years. if we can control it to some degree, and also if the medicinal side will bring people peace, the people who are dying, and that have some peace and not have to die in agony. I ask God for allowing that truthfully, because this is the most disgusting thing that people would ever have to go through, and that's where it's at, and I'm the one. And I don't say that real honestly. I don't want, and as tragically as this sounds, truly do not want people feeling sorry for me. I've come to peace with my disease, but I don't think other people that should have to ever live in pain, that this works very well. And if it can bring them any quality of life, then amen to them. So that's where this generated from. So
Thank you,
that
Kat.
being said.
Thank you. So does the board have any questions for the legalities of this? Any questions of Mr. Ramos, who's on the phone, about what it would entail? Any questions?
I have questions. Are we going to, if we decide to open this up and allow these facilities to come in, are we gonna open it up so other people can offer to come in and do something? How many of them are we gonna allow? Are we gonna allow one in each community? You know,
As far as like Battle Mountain,
and Austin,
Okay,
yeah. But, you know, I realize that Mr. Ramos has the permits right now to grow in both communities. And they're pretty low-key, you don't really, at least in Austin, we don't see it, we know it's there, but we don't see it. But I believe that we should open it up so that if other people wanna come in and put in a bid or figure out what to do, we can't just allow one person to control all of it.
I don't know the answer to that question, Bill.
Basically, what this item is for is to simply ask us, or I should say, direct us to try to come up with an ordinance to allow the various things. And a lot of that would be based on what you want us to come up with in terms of that for you to consider. We would look around, I guess, at other communities, see what they have, certainly listen to Kathy about what she believes would be the best way to get what she needs. I'm puzzled personally. You can go to Elko and get this stuff. What's the huge difficulty? I mean, I go to Elko or Winnemucca just to go to Walmart fairly often. So I don't know why this would be any more difficult than that.
I can explain that. There are these, like, for example, like these patches that are under my ear, they are not money makers. People don't buy them because they don't make them high. So it's very hard. When you have a dispensary, you have to work with the dispensary to actually get like these patches or even the oil that you put on your face, because it doesn't make you high. And so the dispensary themselves have to want to order these things at almost like a loss of money, because they don't make you high and they don't carry it. So like there's three, I can tell you exactly, there's 3 dispensaries in Humboldt County. One of them is the Tribe, and the other 2 are, because obviously there's 3 licenses. Each county by the state was allowed a certain amount of licenses. To my best of my knowledge, Lander County only allows 1 license, and whoever holds that license is the only person that can have that dispensary. Humboldt County has 3. The only one that will carry these patches under my ear are the Indian Colony, and the other ones, because they don't make them money, don't like to carry them. And so in Elko, you can't get them at all. You go along I-80, very few of them have them. They'll carry 1 or 2, but they don't carry like the straight THC stevia. Those are the ones, I'm saying that word wrong, but and that's the one that doesn't make you sit on your couch and want to watch cartoons. That's the one that makes you really get up and move around and be halfway functional in the world. And so you work independently, kind of asking these dispensaries that really are embedded in the community to buy these patches because it makes them no money. And the ones in Elko will not, the ones in Humboldt, well, when we get them, so you call ahead of time to see. And so when I buy them, and it's not about me, but this is other people, because I have suggested to probably 25 other people in this community about these patches, and numerous of them have started using them, and they've stopped taking prescription drugs in that use of these. You can't get them because they don't make you high, they only take away your pain and make you, or help me be able to move my mouth and swallow. So that's, if you want to know a huge difference, they are not a money maker, and you have to work with the owner of the dispensary, and that person has to care about their community. And like, I go to Winnemucca to the Water Canyon one, that's the one, and they're the same. And so when I buy them, I buy $500 worth of these patches, and they're only this big, you guys, and I cut them into 5 days to go under my ears, and then when they're gone, they're gone. And let me tell you, just like now, today's a bad day. Some days are better, today's a bad day for me. Not every day's like this speaking. And some, and they help, like I said, for one, I don't roll in a ball crying. So if you have a dispensary that will work with you and cares about your community, and you can get embedded with them with the medicinal part of it, then that is the huge difference between going here or driving. So my husband taking me every 3 days to Elko or Winnemucca, asking them
The agenda.
to please, do something. So that's the difference.
And then just to point out, Dee, I'm glad you pointed that out, is that as far as opening it up to everybody, it's who controls the license. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was one license for a retail facility in Lander County, which Mr. Ramos holds.
Right.
So it's not a choice of,
It's not a choice,
no,
he just,
because he bought the license when the state put him out, or however that worked.
well, at that time, Lander County.
Yeah, exactly,
approved him,
so.
I remember that. So, are we looking at going with a full dispensary, or are we looking to do like Churchill County does, where they do medicinal only?
Well, I think that's what we're doing, is we're looking at amending the code to provide what it is that we want in our community.
Right. Are we gonna put it to the voters? It is an election year.
You can do it any number of ways.
Okay.
That certainly is a potential. You can always get an advisory, even if it's not mandatory. We've done that. Sometimes you can make it mandatory.
Because it's 61% last time at the vote. If the people don't want it,
But for that, as one of those people, I can tell you that's out of that 61%, I don't know how, I would like to see how many of those ever use it for medicinal purposes. Because to that point, it was the very beginning of it, and the way I know, because I was one of them that looked at it, was I don't want them getting drugs or the chewables or whatever those are, and getting a hold of those, and people not being in control of them. The big picture is, because the one person I spoke to, and he said that I could bring his name up, was Frank Stevens. And he was a deputy and was hell-bent against, and he was a good deputy for many years, hell-bent against marijuana. And that man's been put through the ringer inside and out. And I went a couple weeks ago and met with him to explain to him, and he said, it is so far past the drug use and the smuggling and everything. Like, for example, I don't know how many of the public realize, I was still in office when our officers pulled over a vehicle come traveling I-80, because I-80 is the corridor for drugs. There was over $10 million worth of drugs in that vehicle. The district attorney's office can vouch. I had never seen a cartel stamp in heroin before, and they had it on the table. I wouldn't have my picture taken because I didn't want to be on a cartel's list. I've never seen crack cocaine that would cover probably from that end of that stadium to about Bryan of drugs, and that is what is sent through this county probably 3 times a week. So if you think that this dispensary is going to stop your drug problem, and I'll say that to the voters, that they're very misguided, because that is not going, this little dispensary, yeah, you're gonna have kids or adults who smoke pot, and if they choose to do that and work and be drug tested, unfortunately, that's their problem. But I would much rather see that than the issue we have with the drug problems with the kids and all the garbage that is going through and killing our kids. I'd much rather, if you want to make a statement of trying to control it instead of covering your eyes and acting like the problem does not exist. And yes, I'm emotional because I've had friends in this community who have overdosed and died, and it's ridiculous. And if we pretend, just put it back to the voters. And I'm not saying that shittily, it's just because I'm very emotional. Put it back to the voters, and the ones that are going to be voting against are the ones who are not in pain and the ones who know nothing about it and have never worked around it, and I respect that. However, let their family members get one of those pills that are out there that with one of them will kill their child, and they'll look at something different as having it regulated and stamping out the cartel instead of letting the cartel run their drugs all the way through here. And that's the way I look at it. You have to try to make a stand of controlling it somehow. And if you have it here legally, then they're not seeking it out somewhere else. And that's...
Well, I'm not saying I'm against it.
No, I know, but I
I'm just
know.
saying that it's a matter of what the community wants, what our citizens want. One or two of us can want something, but that doesn't mean that the entire population wants that. And I feel like that they should have a voice in that. They did last time.
I agree.
You know?
Well,
Molly's got something to address that.
So if you guys wanted to put it on the ballot, the deadline is tomorrow for the primary election. So I just wanted to throw that out there so you guys knew.
That's for the primary. but
For the
what about
primary,
the
to get it
general?
on the general is going to be in July.
Okay.
But by the time you get it on the July, I'm not saying would come in November. We get results, and then to change an ordinance, it still has to go to a public hearing to where you guys have to publish it in the paper, and then you have to have a public hearing and then bring it back before you can change it too. So there's a
So what she's saying is basically the public hearing is where the public can come in and address this. They can address it at the public hearing for the ordinance.
So, I mean, but even with a ballot question, which you can do if you want to try and get something together by tomorrow for me to submit. If not, it won't be till July for November,
it's
and
not
then you'll
gonna
still
be
need to
that.
do a public hearing. So I don't know, I mean, possibly you could do the public hearing and see how that goes, and then from that point, maybe
I
if
mean,
you
if
want
we
to go to a
elect to
ballot.
put it back on the ballot, it won't be for the primary, because it'll be, I mean, and as
It should
an
be in the
advisory
general.
question, it needs to be
Yeah.
presented, what are the pros, what are the, it's like
Mhm.
for and against.
Yes,
And it
yeah.
needs to be done fairly, so Lander County citizens can see, like, the true story of it, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Ramos, are you on the phone? Did you have any comments or questions?
I do. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Because it was a little bit difficult for me to hear some of the comments. So if I cut out and you don't hear me, just let me know and I'll be happy to repeat it. So commissioners, I appreciate you taking this up and being willing to hear this. I know that this is often a contentious issue. I want to reiterate a couple things and say one new thing. First of all, when we first got the grow facilities out in Lander County, as you guys know, there were two other parties who did as well. At that point, the reason that a store or transportation or testing or nothing else came in was because this was a very contentious issue. And I think the commission, rightfully so, said at that time, let's give it time. We don't need to be first in. Let's see how this goes. You'll remember that was this became law back in January 1st, 2017, which is 7 years and 3 months ago. So the commission gave it time, and Lander County gave it time, and I think that was a great decision. In that time, and this will go to something that's already been said, the laws and the regulations and things around it have just changed so substantially that I think it was wise to sit back and watch. We saw the state of Nevada take this from the Department of Taxation administering it over to an actual cannabis compliance board that administers it. We saw changes in child protection laws with regard to the caps and how things were sealed and how they had to leave stores. We saw extensive changes in the testing processes and procedures and what they were doing to make it safe and the different ways it was being grown and the pesticides that were being placed on it. And so it has come a long way. The stereotype of smoking weed is no longer. It is along the lines of what Commissioner Ancho has said. In fact, over 60%, and in our store up here in Colorado, nearly 70% of our sales are orals, topicals, these type of things, and not so much this smoking of weed. And that's one thing I would like the commission to consider. The second thing is the illegality of this and what's happening now. Just so you know, to clarify, the current rule in Nevada is if there is no store within 25 miles of where you live, you're allowed to grow 6 plants per person or 12 plants per household. And I think Commissioner Ancho had mentioned that there was a neighbor that had said something about people growing plants. Let me give you an idea of what this is bringing into the community. The average plant is about 3 pounds. That's about 1,362 grams of marijuana per plant. One plant at that weight yields about 454 days worth of marijuana for a single person. Because a moderate user, they've done studies now because everybody, drinks different amounts, everybody uses different, everybody smokes different, everybody, whatever. The average user will use about 3 grams a day if you're a moderate to heavy user. 3 grams a day. If you use 3 grams a day, you'll see that 1,362 grams from one plant is over a year's worth. If you have 6 plants in your yard, which the residents of Lander County are legally allowed to have right now because there's no store there, they can have essentially 6 years worth of marijuana plants in their yard legally. And I think we're all fooling each other if we think that they're grinding it up and throwing it away and not using the full amount of their grow. If a store is placed somewhere in Lander County, there can be none of this growing within 25 miles. And right now, that will also help in this illegal market. With regard to safety, I wanted to add one other thing. There's very good studies that have now come out since more stores and recreational facilities have become available. I'm happy to send it to the commission or any citizens. They say that since marijuana started getting used widely, it decreased the daily doses of hydrocodone. Hydrocodone is an opiate, of course, often known as Vicodin. Decreased the daily doses of 72,000 daily dose decrease in use after marijuana came on the market because, like Commissioner Ancho personally was able to testify to and many others could, it's decreased the amount of those type of pills. Where that becomes critical is in this recent fentanyl outbreak, where fentanyl that most people are dying from is coming in the form of laced pills. And it's going to hit Battle Mountain if it hasn't already. It's going to hit Lander County if it hasn't already, where laced pills with fentanyl are going to kill someone. And if we know that medical studies are showing a decrease of 72,000 daily doses, I think you're adding to the safety rather than taking from the safety of the community. I have one last thing I'd like to say, and can you still hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I have one last thing I think is critically important. To answer Commissioner Helming's stuff on licensure, she asked, how many are we going to allow and should others be allowed in the market? And that's already been defined. The state of Nevada came out and said, based on population of the various counties, they allotted the total number of stores available. There's only one for Lander County, which we hold and have been holding all along. And there's only one, and there will only ever be one. And so that's just to answer that part of this. The thing, though, that I think that's more important, and the final point I wanted to end with was this. By Lander County allowing a single recreational store facility or allowing testing, transport, several great things are going to be accomplished. One is this. Our current local growers there, including us, Rural Remedies, in Battle Mountain, are struggling. You have 2 other local growers there, and I would encourage you to talk to them. They're struggling, like out of business point of struggling. We all are. And here is why. We're out there in the middle of nowhere, and for us to get transport into any of the major cities is almost impossible. And transporters don't want to drive out to Battle Mountain to pick something up, to drive it to Las Vegas or drive it to Reno. That makes it difficult on us. Also, because we don't have testing, that costs us extra. We have to run all the way into Reno or Sparks for testing, and all the way back, there's no testing available. We can't literally set up a lab to test the product. And what it's done is it's put it where we're basically at the will of these bigger cities who need our product but they twist us and break us down to do it. We had over 700 pounds of product. Literally, they twisted us, negotiated us, ran us in the ground on testing, on transport, on everything until the end. We practically sold it at what we drew it for. And I can tell you that a couple of the other local growers have told me they've had to destroy their product because they literally couldn't get it sold in time while it was good. So the local market that you guys did approve is dying on the vine. And there's one last safety concern there, and it's how nice it would be not to have to transport product in a vehicle to these other places. We could do that if locally we could test, if locally we could transport, and locally we could be involved in the sales of it. So I think there's an additional safety factor there in the testing and transport and sale, and I think you'd be helping out the local Lander County businesses and not just mine. I think that if you speak with the owners of the other two local grows, they will agree that a local store would help them. And so, with that, I'm happy to answer any questions particular to those points or any other points for that matter. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Joe. I do have a question, so because I want to make sure I understand, is that, so right now, an individual is allowed to have 6 plants per person or 12 plants per household, and that's illegal in our county currently. So if we were to allow a retail facility that became the legal seller of marijuana in Lander County, that means those people could no longer grow plants in their homes, correct?
That's correct. Within 25 miles of the store location, nobody would be allowed to grow. Now, where the exception to that comes is if the store facility, a dispensary was placed over in Battle Mountain, the residents of Austin would still be allowed to grow 6 plants per person or 12 plants per household because the recreational facility within their county is more than 25 miles away.
Okay, so that's where I'm coming from on the issue, because I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't use marijuana, but what I'm concerned about is what Calvin pointed out was that right now, with 6 plants per person, you heard Joey said that how much marijuana that makes. Where's it going? I believe.
I was wondering that too.
I believe, and it's my own speculation that it's being sold illegally within our county. You know, that kids are buying it, and it's like, how do you know that you're getting the good, pure stuff? I mean, especially with the fentanyl crisis that we're having in this community. If I were in favor of it, it'd be strictly for that reason, that it would basically give law enforcement in our community.
In Battle Mountain.
In Battle Mountain, Austin, that you can't grow. Anybody that wants to buy it, we have a retail facility center to go buy it, and it's safe. So basically, what I see is you're putting the drug dealer out of business. The one that's not legal, correct? That's how I see it.
To a certain point, they're still going to sell because they're still.
Well, no, absolutely, absolutely, but you're not making it so easy for them to do it. And right now, like, our sheriff's department wouldn't have any teeth, I mean, because they're allowed to grow 6 plants per person or 12 plants per household. And it's like, where is that stuff going? I mean, that's what I'm concerned with. At least with like a retail facility, somebody goes in and buys, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joey or Bill, is if you buy it, that sample, that whatever it is that you're buying shows that the time and date it was sold and who it was sold from. So if anybody gets stopped, you can see that this is a regulated form of the drug, right? It's so anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. So, does the board have any other questions? Yes, Joe.
You're 100% accurate on what you just said. How it works here in Colorado, and we frequently get this question from police. What they do is, if someone is caught with marijuana and they come, oh, I bought this at this store. What they do is they get a hold of the store, and we get these calls to our store that say, we've got Marco Rubio here, the date of birth such and such, with this, and he claims he bought it there. And the metric system logs every cell, date, time, and amount, because they're not allowed to buy over an ounce per day anyway. And so we get these calls all the time verifying the legalities of it. And it also gives the judicial system some teeth, because then a judge doesn't sit there and say, well, gosh, it's legal anyway in the state, just let them do it. The judge says, no, You did this wrong. You had the ability to buy it at a store. You didn't buy it at a store. You grew it. You bought it on the black market or something of that sort. And now I'm going to put punishment down on you. So it gives the judicial system some teeth, the police as well as the judges, because people can no longer BS their way through this black market.
Gotcha. Thank you, Joey. Was there any other questions from the commission or comments?
I have a comment. I know a guy that drives.
The what?
That drives.
A guy that drives.
He runs up and down, does the deliveries to, all the Indian colonies over in Ely. I think he does Winnemucca. So, you know, a delivery guy, and he's licensed.
And with that said, that nothing on this license, Joey, correct me if I'm wrong, this license does not stop the Indian colony. If they wanted to, they could absolutely, without, it has nothing to do with us, they absolutely can put in their own if they so choose, correct?
That's 100% correct. And if you'll go to the cannabis site for Nevada, you'll see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 current compacts with the reservations, and I think it's only a matter of time that you'll see it there on that one. The Timok tribe already, who I believe is there, has it in Elko already.
Okay.
But we wouldn't have no regulation
No.
over them. If we open one, they can still open 3.
No, they can open one.
One per reservation?
So the tax dollars that are generated from this, we're still not able to, what are we allowed to do with the tax dollars since the laws keep changing? At one point in time, we couldn't absorb that into the county or do any, the marijuana money was one of those things that was just untouchable. We couldn't.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when you're talking about a business and the tax that's put on, I don't know, and Billy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that's what it's talking about. I mean, the problem with that, and that would be for the retailers, this cash that he's making from the sale would not be, you couldn't put it into a banking facility. I mean, there's special banks that handle that stuff. Right? Am I right in that, Bill?
Yeah. Oh.
Yes, Joe?
I can address that for you. So we have a banking relationship in Nevada currently for our current grow facilities, and we are over out of Carson City. We're also approved to bank here in Colorado. So there are approved banking relationships, and the industry is heading towards more and more of that. As you've probably seen, this whole provision of scheduling marijuana 1 looks like it's going to go to 3. And so the banks have really started to relax on that. So number 1, the banking is pretty straightforward and such. And I forget what the other part of your question was. There was something else I was going to address, but
The tax revenues. What are we gonna gain in revenues for Lander County if we allow this?
Yeah. So with regard to tax revenues, the state of Colorado, the state of Nevada, when you mentioned Commissioner Helming about not being able to share in the taxes, the reason was what Nevada had initially done, and this may have changed. What they had initially done was they said, look, if you're not allowing the sales, you're not going to come reap the benefits. So, because at first there were many different counties that said, we're not doing it. As you can tell, this has changed and changed and changed and changed, and more have been added and added and added. But what they did initially was, for example, if it was Clark County, and this is just by way of example, so this is not to the line, but by way of example, if Clark County said, we've got 20 stores, we're allowed to tax you other 18 counties out there that don't want to allow it, you're not going to get to share in the tax profits over in Clark County if you're not even going to allow a store in yours. So initially, Lander County was excluded from those things based on the fact that they didn't have a store, so they weren't going to get to partake of the benefits of taxes throughout the rest of the state who did. Now, that may have changed in the interim, and I don't know, but that's how it was the last I had looked into it. The last part on taxes is this. It's typically jurisdiction to jurisdiction dependent, meaning that property taxes in Lander County may be different than property taxes in Sparks, or maybe different property taxes in Clark County. And as such, usually the local jurisdictions have some tax on the product that they collect as Lander County only, and then Lander County also could potentially then, and this is depending on further research of that, could potentially share in the statewide taxes now that you're also a participant within the system.
We can legally tax now. Yeah, okay. And we can put that tax money towards whatever program we want to, like Main Street program or something like that.
Okay.
I'd like to see some numbers on that, but going back, for me, 65% of the people said no in the beginning. I like the ballot issue and bring this back after that piece. I think we could be very well prepared by July. Off of the selling, Brian, very good statement on, what it takes out, but it only takes it out if it's number one, enforced, and number two, prosecuted.
Right.
That's a concern. That's a concern I have, and some of the people I've talked to about that. If it is, and that's the route we decide to go, that's definitely supportive, and it does get it off the street. Coming from where I come from, it started out with the medical. You had to have a medical card. I come from Montana, and the bus pulls up with the 3 doctors, and they give out $600 to 800 cards for hurt fingers and everything else. There ain't a big profit in it. There is not. Every one of them is on a corner in Butte, and they don't make their money off the medical piece. It ain't going to just support that. So I like the I don't feel it's my ability to speak when the voters said no. So like I said, I believe in the agenda, putting it on and letting the voters tell us what to do as a group.
I believe the voters ought to have their say in it.
I do too.
Let the public decide what we do.
Okay. Any other commissioners, questions, comments? Or move to public? Is there public comment on the issue? Morning, guys.
Morning. Shirley Shepherd. I agree with Mike and Dee on this. And JR, I 100% believe that if you're going to make a decision like this, it should be made by the whole community and not just 5 people. I believe that it's going to impact us all and impact our children all. And I wasn't for it when they decided to grow it. So I don't personally have any compassion for the growers or having a hard time. It was their decision. They knew where we were, what our locale was, and what the problems could be, and they took the chance. So, that's how I feel about that. We can't let them make us feel sorry for a decision, a bad decision or a good decision that they made.
Shirley, could you clarify, you say it would have an impact on us and our children? What do you mean by that? Like, what do you see as an impact?
Okay, I'm old school. A drug is a drug. And I'm not ever going to get past the fact that marijuana is not a drug. And when the county, talks about a drug-free environment and stuff, to me, it's just contradicting that. A drug is a drug. And no one's ever going to change my mind about that unless someday I will 100% agree with Kathy that the medicinal part of it is, if it's got wonderful benefits, then that should be utilized. And you get a prescription for it, it's just like any other drug. Then it makes you feel better, then you should have it available. But I feel it is available because she is getting it. It's not like, and I have the deepest compassion for what you're going through, but I have to stick to my standards and values and morals too, where it's a drug, and I personally seen it, and no one will ever convince me that it's not a gateway drug. So I just, like everybody else, we have to let the community vote on it. And I really do need, these are a list of all of the people who have applied for a license in Lander County. So we have lots of options too.
Thank you.
Okay. My name's Lenny Shepherd, and this county's wanting to be drug-free and all that. The county is the only one that I know of, and I might be wrong, that does not random drug test their employees. None of them. Get drug tested when you go to work, and after that, you do whatever you want.
That's not true.
It isn't? You,
No,
do you get
I
drug
do
tested?
random drug tests, yes.
You do?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm wrong.
School district doesn't.
And who picks that out? Who
It's a
picks?
company. They send me a random list. They pick
And-
it,
and-
we don't, and I pull the employees and they get drug tested.
They used to do that. Well, I worked there 30 years, and the only time that anybody got drug tested is you had a Class 1 license. And that's the only ones in the whole county that they
They're
singled
safety
out.
sensitive positions. They have to be in a safety sensitive position, and that's not our requirements, that's law.
So everybody in the county,
That is in a safety sensitive position, gets
Okay.
random drug tested.
so a equipment operator is.
Yes, that is a safety sensitive position.
So all the
yes.
road and bridge and all the
Yes.
employees at the county.
Yes.
Okay, okay, well,
The office people too.
No, they're not safety sensitive.
That's just, you
Now-
were saying, you're saying, you
I
said they
safety
were, well, they're
sensitive
not.
Positions,
safety sensitive.
yes.
Well, handling millions of dollars is safety sensitive.
I don't make those laws.
Well,
That's
I'm
not
just
his
saying,
point. His point is,
Not everybody's gonna take the test then.
Safety sensitive positions.
Well, that's,
Maybe it'll help. You have to keep in mind that we are Americans, we have personal rights to privacy in our own bodies. Consequently, unless you've got a good reason, you can't insist that people be searched. And when you're doing a drug test, that's a search. So,
but every mine
even
that.
if we, as an ordinance, did something, I doubt it would hold up.
Every mine, it holds up.
Yeah, how does, that's a good
Because
question.
That's a
of
private.
mines, It's safety.
How is public different from, how is public different from private?
Again, those are safety positions. The office staff at Marigold or some such place, I mentioned them only because they were here earlier, they probably are not subject to it unless.
No,
No, they.
oh, that's wrong. I
But
would,
they are private
wrong.
entity, we're public. We
That's-
have to go by how our laws are for
Yep.
public. And you can go to my pool packs, you can go to my attorneys, they're the ones that create the policy. That says safety sensitive positions are the one, unless I have an office staff that's actually where we believe that they're under reasonable suspicion, then yes, we can test them.
And I can tell you that I owned my own drug testing. Well, I actually was the one who went out, did the drug testing, sent the things in. Did that for 12 years for several different companies. And I can tell you, out of the ones who hit positive, the majority of them that hit positive were every time were on alcohol. There was a handful that hit other drugs very rarely, but the majority of them were all alcohol. Now, I'm gonna throw out a question that I wouldn't have thought of very clearly. So, for example, we have a company that wants to come in here and bring 500 jobs in, and they're a pharmaceutical company who wants to make opioids and make painkillers, pain medicine. And so the Lander County says, how are we going to do that? It's legal, but we don't like what it's done to our community, and look what it's done. However, it's legal, and it's been legal for I don't know how many years. Are we going to say, yes, you can come in because you've been legal and you've been out there and established for however many years? Or are we going to put it to the taxpayers to vote on it? And I'm not against that. I'm not saying I'm against that. But however, just think, marijuana, unlike people don't like it, regardless. They don't like it. They thankfully that you haven't been ill enough to have to use it. God bless you. But it's no different. I would rather see somebody using a THC patch than using a meth patch or using any of the opioids, any medications across the board. And this is, I'm gonna tell you, when I started this patch deal, they had sent me on several different medications to try to control my shaking, and I'm on 2 medications at this time. And I don't care if it goes to the taxpayers to vote, I'm just saying, I have 2, my carbidopa that allows my body to not be in a paralyzed state, and my seizure medicine. I don't take any prescription medication other than that. However, like I said, if this pharmaceutical company came in and said, hey, we want to build this facility, we've checked boxes and 1 through 1 million and we're good, well, you can't stop them from doing it. You can't. And however, but you're going to try to do the same thing with marijuana, because just as, oh my God, the amount of people who obviously abuse opioids is ridiculous. However, you're going to use something that actually, there's nothing good about pain medicine. There's nothing medicinally good about it other than it makes you stupid and more addictive. However, you have something that has a medicinal use that can do good for people and get them off of opioid drugs, and you're going to say, and I respect what you're saying, I do, because my doctor, I'm going to tell you, I went to the neurologist 2 weeks ago, and he asked me, because he's very staunch of religion, and he was against this. When I first asked him months and months ago, it was absolutely no, and I did what he said. However, my condition got worse, and I thought, screw that, I'm doing it anyway. And so I go back to him this time, and he says, well, and I said, I'm not going to lie to you, because I could have easily just lied to him, and I just said, no, I'm off of all of this medication, and this is all I'm doing. And he said, why wouldn't you just smoke it? I said, I don't want to get high. I did that in high school, and I have nothing against saying I did that. And it wasn't fun then, and it's not fun now. I'm not a drinker. I haven't been a drinker. I'm not someone who likes to get high. And he said, well, that's the right answer. And he said, then I ask you to please continue to do that. And, you know, and so to keep that in mind, folks, when you're thinking of opioids, we would bring them in with open arms, because Jesus Christ, I'm sorry, well, we would make a ton of money. But we're sitting there talking about pennies of how much on taxpayers, and that if we're going to make off something that can breathe people some peace. However, it's not going to make as much as an opioid company that came in. So just when you're trying to rationalize stuff, please put it that, or alcohol, for God's sake. You know, that how ridiculous people who use alcohol that try to suppress their things, that does nothing for them except kill their liver and whoever they hit as they're driving down the road. And so I'm just keep, when you're thinking about the whole thing, and I'm not against it going to the voters, keep it in a rational thought of, it's a bigger issue, it's a bigger thing than just, I'm against it. I'm gonna share something, I smoked a lot of marijuana in high school. And I went to nothing further. Now, I know the TH level is different, and I respect that, because I've had deputies beat that in my head, and I understand. But, you know, as far as gateway, the small opioid has been gateway to where people are now addicted when they can't get it to, hey, they take heroin. And so opioids can be also seen in the same factor. So just when you're thinking of that, please, in respect to that, look at the big picture of it, is all I ask.
Thank you, Kathy.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
I have one more question.
Hold on one second. Mike.
Is Mr. Ramos still on the line?
Joey, are you on the line still?
Sorry, I have my mic muted. Yes, I'm still on the line.
Yeah.
So if the commission today put out with their stipulation that it was only a dispensary only for medicinal purposes was granted to further look at it. Would it be a profitable enough business? And I guess
No.
maybe I can't even ask you. No?
Yeah.
So-
yeah. Sorry. The answer is that about 1/3 of the people that come to our stores here in Colorado come for medical cards because they don't get taxed. So they go get the phony cards that the doctors hand out left and right, which has already been well stated by someone there from Montana, and I don't know which commissioner that was. But
me.
What happens is that if you get a medical card, you don't have to pay taxes.
Okay.
And that might affect the tax question that came up earlier from the commissioners. And so 1/3 of our customers are medical card holders, 2/3 of our customers are recreational, and so one problem is that they get the cards anyway, and they just avoid taxes. It's the same for our store, but it's just 1/3 of the sales. The other issue I would bring up in addition to that is that the latitude for the cards is pretty far and wide. In other words, chronic pain is often a qualifying condition, and that can go far and wide. So what you would do by making it medical only is two things. You would keep the black market alive there, because there will be many people that cannot go get a card because they don't have a medical condition, and so the dispensary within 25 miles of them really isn't a dispensary that they can use because it's not recreational. That's one thing. So if you think you're going to combat the homegrown 6 years worth of product, you're not. Second thing is the tax thing for Lander County, and then the third thing is just the I guess just the whole little game that gets played around that. So you're really going to drive up costs there, probably for residents. They're going to have to go pay and get a card, but then go over and get to get products. They want to play that game. Those are my thoughts. It would not be profitable for us to come out there and do that.
So, thank you. That's why it's my belief that at a non-profitable business, medicinal is accessible. I think the 65% of the people that voted have the concern of the 2/3. That's where I believe that they have the voters have the right to make the decision for Lander County, because we ain't going to get just a medicinal to help Kathy or anybody else. It's accessible through other means. If the people want it in the county, then we set the regulation. I believe I don't have enough people calling to say that I should have the say for them 2/3 that have concerns.
Don't hang, so I don't forget. So where do you set, and I'm not saying this sarcastically, I'm just rolling this in my mind, so please. So are you saying anything under 50% is going to be acceptable, or if they vote 10% of the community votes against it, then you had 10%. So what are you setting your limit at? Is for the vote goes, is it under 50%? Anything under, so 49% are against it, are you going to allow it, or if where are you setting your numbers? So just that.
General election would be majority, right?
Majority.
The majority
Yeah,
bill?
majority.
I mean, if you don't,
And if we have.
if the majority of Lander County residents say, let's do it, I mean, why do we have to set
It's
it?
your call.
Time,
To
Huh?
answer your question, it's your call. You could make it an advisory question, in which case.
For our guidance?
It's not binding.
I'm fine with that.
In which case, you would still be able to vote on it. So if it was prohibited by 51%, and you thought, well, that's just unfair because it's so close, then you could just go ahead and do it. But if you made it mandatory, if that's the way you set it up, that's the way it would be. However, even if you made it mandatory, I don't know of anything that would stop you from amending things, because it's still within your power. The way the statute is set up, it's within power of the county commissioners, period, at some level. But as far as the way you set it up on the question, it could be either immediately executable by reason of the vote. I mean, not immediately, but as soon as it's official and everything's in place. Or you can set it up as a strictly advisory question, and then you could go by the advice and decide whether you're going to take their advice or not.
Okay.
But those are your choices. We're kind of out of this. I mean, it's not my place. I have my own personal opinions on stuff, but it's not my place, I feel, to come in on this. Everybody has an opinion on this issue at this point in their life, I'm pretty sure. So I think the people can decide for themselves.
Thank you, Bill. Eddie?
I don't have anything to say. I think it should be put to the voters.
Okay.
And if it passes, then that's the way it is.
Right.
Jason, do you have anything to add to this?
I agree with
Thanks.
Brian, I'd like to ask follow-up.
Pardon?
I was going to speak to the tax part, just so you guys knew. So Lake and Sullivan, for the record, they have two different types of tax. They have a retail cannabis tax and the wholesale cannabis tax. The county, the local governments get the wholesale. I don't know if we have a dispensary, if that changes, or we get both. But right now, we get about 88,000 a year in marijuana tax.
And that's on the wholesale side because of the medical license
Yeah.
or the grow license? that are-
The retail cannabis tax, the state has chose to put that into the state education fund, so a lot of it's going back into funding our schools, but.
And what does the wholesale tax go to that we get here in the county? Does it have a special allocation?
No, you guys can allocate it to something, but the only allocation you did was the first year you received it, it went to LEDA, I believe, for economic development stuff, and now it just goes into the general fund. But you guys can certainly change
Okay.
that if you wish.
Thank you, Lakin. Yes.
Peggy Serla on the record. Is Joey still on?
Joey, are you still on the line?
Still with you, yes, I am.
Okay, so, if you have a grow that's in the area and you have a dispensary that's in the area, the grow that you have has to be so far from the dispensary, right? Or do you bring your grow in from a different, like, 75 miles out? Or how far is it that you have to bring a grow into a dispensary? Because I know it has to be so far also.
The answer to that is that it's typically based on local code. And so in Lander County there, you guys have positioned us where we are at with our current grow, which is, out of town. But typically that's, region to region dependent. Some places have defined, our, North Glen store here, for example, is, 200 feet, and it's the way the crow flies. In some jurisdictions, it's 1,000 feet, and that's from a community center, a daycare, a school, or so on and so forth. And so that would be up to how the code was rewritten there, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, all right, that's all I wanted to know.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comment or questions? Yes. I'll get right to you, Lamont.
Jason Blake, for the record. I was kind of caught off guard. I just want to make sure I'm clear in my answer. I'm supportive of it going out to the public for
Okay. Thank you.
that ballot.
Lamont?
Yeah.
Lamont Edgar for the record. Like Commissioner Sparks, I don't have a dog in this fight, but a few comments here, a few things that were said. First off, Commissioner Ancho, I do agree with you. I don't think people should have to travel 70 something miles for anything. We have a lot of people having to travel for medicine, for different things, groceries out of town. So I think it's a great idea that we have something locally. On the flip side of that, I think we really painted the worst case scenario on people that are growing. With the 12 plants available for household, there are people that do grow here, and some of it is economical. I'm assuming some of this THC that is in the dispensaries is probably quite expensive, and for some people it's probably less expensive to grow at home. So I think the worst case scenario we've said about the growers, I mean, the people that are growing, they're not Breaking Bad at their house and growing pounds and pounds of stuff. They're growing for their own use, and I think it is a great thing that we can provide a service locally. Because it is very difficult to grow things, but people have the right to have 6 to 12 plants, but good luck growing anything around here. It's not as easy as probably the picture we're painting. But and also people that may have excess, there is a law where you can gift a certain amount to people who maybe can't grow. So I think that does need to be considered, that because people can grow, that they are growing, maybe they're not growing 12 plants and getting 12 plants worth of cannabis. So I think it's a great idea to be able to provide locally. Fantastic. I think putting it in the hands of the public, this is something, if we do allow a local dispensary, that is going to take growers their ability to grow at home. That's going to be taken away. So I think adding that to a public election, to the general election, would be a fantastic idea. As far as the service it can provide, I think we do have an opioid crisis, and I think the ability for people to buy locally, this might be a positive solution, but to be able to add one thing and take away from other people that maybe aren't abusing, they're just doing it for their own recreation, is something to be considered, and I think the best avenue would be during election.
Thank you, Lamont.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment or questions? Okay.
Quick thing on the legal end, the way that this is phrased on the agenda, I don't think we can take your directive and make an election right away. We would need one more meeting where you would direct that there would in fact be a ballot question put together. But you can certainly direct us to come up with a proposed ballot question or other proposals under this. But it's just, this is strictly, as far as action goes, it's strictly directing staff to come up with something.
Okay. Well, thank you.
So
Yeah,
it'll
one
be a
more
motion
question
for the
for
next
Joey.
agenda, Brian?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
My name's Chad Brandon. I just got a question. I'm reading on this here. I heard Joey talking about I heard Joey talking about the testing having to be done all the way in Reno and everything. So with this, are we approving for opening up like the processing facility, the retail, the testing, everything here local instead of having to go there and then ship it back to here and all that? I'm just kind of confused on.
Within Lander County, not just per se local, but within
Yeah,
Lander
yeah,
County.
Lander County is what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. There's more county.
Yeah.
In my opinion, just quickly on that thought there, the hardest hurdle I think for people to grab, as Ms. Shepherd said, the old school view on marijuana, which I definitely came up with as well, is the dispensary aspect. When you get to actual testing, which is just a lab, a room with a lab, that's most people aren't opposed to that. When it gets to transport, once it's grown and it's going somewhere, like it's being hauled, the excess product is being hauled from your current Lander County growers to Sparks or Reno. I think your current Lander County citizens should be able to do that. They should make the money from that. They should be able to have a business in that way, and that should be handled internally. That just doesn't make sense from a safety perspective, a security perspective, or a county financial perspective to have that out of the county. So I think the big hurdle is the dispensaries. So if the county is going to allow dispensaries, then it would seem to me that you should just approve everything under the current state statute as allowed, because these other things are so minimal in respect, so to say.
Okay, thank you, Joey.
So my one last question is, are you thinking just a dispensary in Battle Mountain or one for Austin too? Because you have all kinds of dispensaries surrounding you there out in.
There's one license for.
I know, but,
As a county.
but for just the county itself, it's not one person that holds the license, because he can grow in both towns.
So, good question.
He's growing in both towns, so can he do a dispensary in both towns? Because in the Austin area, you've got Eureka, Round Mountain, Tonopah, you've got a huge market there, whereas here you have places within 50 miles.
Joey?
Unfortunately, Commissioner Helming, we would love to. I think you're exactly right. I think it's a tremendous market. I think that I think it would be fair to the citizens of Lander County. However, that's a state level thing based on population. And this is where Austin's small population then comes in to haunt the whole county because they've only allocated one license to the entire county. If they allocated more licenses like they did with the cultivation facilities and like we secured with the cultivation facilities, we would have been happy to do with the store facilities, but we got 100% of what was available and it was one license.
Okay.
Okay. Mike, did you have a question? Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Oh, I asked about putting it
I
on
wanted
the
to make
next
one more
agenda.
comment. Bill can please tell me if I'm wrong about this. I had contacted my personal attorney to ask if when this went to vote, and I could vote on these things, because I don't want anybody thinking because of personal gain. I'm not financially personally gaining from anything. My attorney said it would be no different than me granting a license for a liquor license for a business, because I might buy alcohol from that place, but I'm not financially gaining from that. So any vote that I do vote, I'm not personally gaining anything. So I just don't want people thinking that but Bill, tell me if I'm right, if I'm allowed to vote on anything, or do I have to abstain because I support the idea?
No, you're well within your rights, and your analogy is correct. I think is correct. Just like somebody who drinks, voting on a liquor license, of course they can vote on a liquor license.
Okay, so any other, yes?
I just have a comment, my name's Lenny Shepherd. Anyway, this is like agriculture. You're a farmer, you grow alfalfa hay, and you don't have a way to get it somewhere, it rots in the stack. And the marijuana, the guys that can't transport it, maybe they shouldn't be in the business if they can't afford to transport it somewhere. It's no different than a farmer or anybody else.
Okay, thank you, Lenny. Any other public comment, questions? Okay, so, so am I hearing that that's what we want to do, or do we, actually, let me just ask this, is there a motion?
Can I make a motion that we put it on the ballot?
No.
No.
We can at the end.
Okay, so can
This
we
is-
make the motion that we direct staff to look at putting it on the ballot as an advisory, under an advisory capacity?
Yeah, I don't know if it necessarily would need to be a motion, just a consensus to direct staff to come up with an agenda item to where we can discuss moving forward with that. Correct?
Make a ballot question?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
You can do it that way, yes.
So it'd be a direction. So is that what I'm hearing? Is that what? Okay. So we have a consensus, that's the direction we want to move, okay, so we're giving direction to staff to put it as an agenda item upon which action can be taken as far as putting it to the public as an advisory question for the general election.
Yes.
Okay. All right, guys, we're gonna take a 15-minute break.
This conference will now be recorded.
So we'll go ahead and call the meeting back to order. We'll continue on with 1.3 for discussion and possible action to change Austin clinic hours and allow treatment within Nevada health centers.
So I believe we have Stephanie White on the phone as well. And this item, I hope that we were,
That isn't the way I wanted it put.
okay, I was not certain, but I think that they are the ones who set the hours, so that was why we reached out to them. I don't know that we have the authority to really change them, but
No, we just want them to actually be there.
Stephanie, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Do we have a contract with Rural Nevada Health? Does Lander County have a contract with them, or do they just show up because they have a clinic there?
well, we fund them through a grant.
Right, I know that, but did we also have a contract with them?
I'm not aware of a contract, just through grant funding, so there is no, we don't have anything to hold them to a set schedule or service per se.
Because we haven't had a doctor since November.
Stephanie, you will have to unmute yourself to speak if you would like to speak on this.
Brian, can you tell her to unmute?
Stephanie, can you unmute? Stephanie, can you hear us? If you can, unmute your phone.
I'm not sure if there's anybody else on from Nevada Health Centers you might ask.
Anybody else on there from Nevada Health Centers?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. We got you now.
This is Jasmine.
Who?
Jasmine.
Hi, Jasmine. So,
Hi. Can you hear me? Just want to
yes.
confirm.
Yeah, we hear you. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Jasmine? Well, so first off, is it not agendized how you wanted it agendized?
I wanted to discuss the whole thing. I don't know if we can discuss the type of service they're providing or the lack of service.
Well, it says Austin clinic hours and allowed treatment.
Okay, all right, so I wasn't sure if we would overstep the bounds on that.
Bill, are we good?
I'm sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right. Well,
Hi.
to the meeting.
Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Jasmine Martel Perez, and I'm the Vice President of Operations for Nevada Health Centers. It sounds like Stephanie's having some issues with being able to hear us. So thank you for having us and adding us to the agenda, and I'm here to just answer any questions that you may have or any recommendations.
Okay. Dee, question?
Okay, when are you going to provide a doctor out in Austin again?
So we are in the process of currently recruiting. We had our provider in our Carlin location that left the organization, and he was the provider that was providing the service out there. So we're in the process of recruiting. We do have an arrangement with the EMTs, and we do provide telehealth services to that community, so there is that option. We do have a mobile medical unit that will be coming to Austin, looking to come out in April or May. We can publish the calendar for that, and the plan is for them to come out twice a month to provide in-person services to the Austin community.
But you're not going to use the clinic building at all, you're just going to do the mobile services?
No, the plan, that's a temporary, the plan is to have a provider come in person. We're just currently in the process of recruiting for that position.
Because I see on your website you're going to be moving up to 5 vehicles. Are you planning on doing away with all the locations?
No, that's in addition to our brick and mortar locations.
Okay, so you have the project that you have going with the EMTs right now. You can't provide blood draws and personal services like that. How are we going to?
No, we can't at this point with the EMTs. But if that is something that is needed in the community, I can definitely work closely with Stephanie to see what type of services we can provide.
Because I've had 3 or 4 different people tell me that they used to do their blood draws there every other week, and we haven't had anyone there since Michael left in November. And when I called and asked about it, they told me it'd be May or June, and that's 6 months that we haven't had any services.
I understand, but we are providing telehealth services so the community can get their services via, telehealth and virtual. And right now, that is the plan. Like I said, we're actively recruiting for that position.
Telehealth is a wonderful program, but when you're the patient, it's really not.
I understand that, but we are providing that service to that community. At this time, that is all the information that I have, and we will have an in-person provider come out to provide those services here in the next couple of months.
But you're not going to guarantee us when, you're just going to tell us within the next couple of months.
I can't guarantee that I will have a provider on staff in the next couple months. No, I cannot, because we're actively recruiting.
Okay, so you have 14 locations. How many of your locations actually have doctors?
All of our locations have doctors. We do have we have providers in Elko that are currently providing services to Carlin, and the Carlin community is also utilizing our telehealth program.
Okay, so Austin is the only one that doesn't have a doctor coming?
At this time, correct. But we are providing telehealth services, so we're still providing medical services via our telehealth card.
Again, telehealth services are wonderful, but...
So what is it that the community is requesting at this time? Because we are providing that service there.
We're requesting someone in person that can actually do blood draws and do the personal services that need to be done. Blood draws was a big one. I've had several complaints about people that have to drive clear to Fallon now, or Battle Mountain, or Elko, or somewhere, every week or every 2 weeks to get their blood draws done.
Well, like I said, I will see what we can do with the mobile medical. We're in the process of recruiting for this position. That is all we've worked closely with the Battle Mountain Hospital to see if they could provide coverage, and they were unable to provide coverage for us. So, right now we are also recruiting for our Elko location. So, like I said, the mobile medical will be up and running here shortly, and we'll be coming out to the locations to provide those services in person.
So you're still billing us every month for the rent to be reimbursed?
Yeah, because we're still utilizing that building. We have the EMTs that are providing the telehealth option, so that option is there for those patients.
It really doesn't accomplish what the people need.
I understand that, and like I said, I will definitely work closely with Stephanie to see what type of resources. I can't guarantee that we will be able to do that, but that, you know, that is an option. I can work closely with LabCorp to see if they can provide phlebotomy services to that location. You know, so there, you know, that is the need in the community. You know, I can definitely put a plan together to see what we can do.
Okay, all right.
Well, thank you, and then, yeah, we'll just, let us know what you find out, and you can get with staff, and then if we need to draw up another agenda item for further discussion, we will.
Yeah, that would be great. So yes, let me do some work on that, and I will be in touch with you, Bert, and we can be set up for a follow-up on the commissioners meeting.
So can we get a date to that conversation? Because the way I see it, the way you just explained it, is you get a bill for full services by providing half service.
I understand that, but the community's not utilizing the telehealth option that we have available to the community. So if that's not needed, but you need more of a blood draw service, then, you know, we can definitely work on that approach. But we are providing medical services. It just looks a little different to the community than having an in-person provider.
It don't look different, it is different.
Jasmine, this is Commissioner Ancho. So I'm gonna tell you something. That service means nothing to the ill.
Thank
And
you.
I am
Yep.
sorry that if that puts you sideways, but when you say that you're going to have a service in an area, there are 6 people there and telehealth does not mean anything. If, it means nothing. So my suggestion is that you figure it out, you're getting reimbursed, and you do something. Telehealth, you know, they say that, you know, they're promoting how great telehealth is. Tell that to a person who's dying. It means nothing. So please get your services out there.
Thank you.
I think there should be, so how long, what should you feel?
I feel
Couple
like we should-
weeks
A couple
to
weeks
give an
at least.
update?
It's been since November since we've actually had a doctor out there, and when I called and asked them about it, asking if I could get a blood draw, they told me it could be clear up to May before they actually had a provider
Okay.
there.
Jasmine,
So they're not concerned.
Jasmine, is that something that we could do? You could have a response back to us in 2 weeks?
Yes, I can definitely work on that with Stephanie, and we will have a plan together in the next couple of weeks
Okay,
to
thank
present.
you.
Jasmine, if I can, Commissioners, this is Stephanie White.
Hi, Stephanie.
I'm the practice manager over Austin, Carlin, and Oka locations for the record. And we've been working with Bert, and we have a monthly meeting, a standing monthly meeting on the second Tuesday. The next one is scheduled for April at 2 o'clock. And we've been trying to keep everybody updated. After the last commissioner left, we were not informed there was a new one that we could invite to that meeting. So we'd love to have that information and have her available as well. And as the county knows, I've worked with Brandy too. It's hard in Austin for blood draws. Brandy, the county nurse, has a hard time as well. Nobody will service that area. So if they draw blood down there, they have to take it to Battle Mountain. And that's been our problem in the past is our Carlin crew that was going down there would take it back to Carlin's house to send it out to LabCorp. So again, we can follow up with Quest or LabCorp, like Jasmine was saying, but it's just such a rural community that they don't have access to make it out there to pick up the specimens.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie.
Okay, what was the date on that? April what?
So the next scheduled meeting is April 9th at 2 p.m. And if the admin wants to, she has my email address, if she wants to email me who else would like to be included in that meeting, I'll send out the invite so that you guys can attend as well. And we're really, we try to be proactive with communicating. We will definitely post signs and notifications. We usually post at the senior center, the post office, our front door, the library. when that mobile van is going to be down there. They're scheduled currently to be down there in April, but they're still waiting on approval for the van to be out on the road. So hopefully they'll be there. April 30th is when the date they're scheduled to be there, and we have actual confirmation. We will communicate that out to the whole entire community.
That still leaves everybody hanging.
I agree, and you know, it's hard. The county's been trying to get a position as well, and as you all know, it's hard to find somebody in those rural areas. Our Carlin people, you know, have been waiting as well. It's not that we're not actively looking. We have 3 open positions in Elko as well. It's just hard to draw a physician to the rural Nevada. And we're currently working with a locums company to try and get a locum provider in there in the meantime until we hire a permanent provider.
All righty. So we good?
And just for clarification to the commission, I don't think that our meetings will address the concern of a provider. The meetings are just updating us as a county on where we stand, but there is no real teeth in that as far as us progressing forward other than partnerships with us as a county and some of, you know, the services we can provide with Brandy to assist with that, but it really doesn't address what we're looking at.
And I think we need to, I mean, I understand that we need to provide the service, but we have to really understand the problems that are associated with rural areas and getting people and staff and things to follow through. So I think it needs to be better cooperation, and there has to be.
Correct, and I agree with that. It's just, it would be a good meeting to update everybody so that we're all aware of what we can do together as a community to help provide that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving on. We're going to go to 1.4 for discussion and possible action to disapprove the location of the Livestock Board's new rodeo champion sign. The suggested location is inside the fairgrounds by the pavilion. Hi guys.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good.
Mike Craig, Chairman for Lander County Livestock Advisory Board.
Good morning, I'm Sierra Shavira. I'm also a member of the Lander County Livestock Advisory Board.
Welcome, guys. So we're looking for a location for the new champion sign, huh?
Yes, sir. Yep, what we did is put together it's basically recognizing all the champions that's come from Lander County, Battle Mountain. There's a very large amount of success from a small community, as we know. There's many names. I've found more names, talked with locals to even add to this board. There's probably a total of 50 names that's going on it over the past years. A lot of them are repeats and stuff like that, but it just shows this community is very well in the agriculture and in those events, just as well as our wrestling team and all that stuff. It just shows the success in a different adventure. We have a current sign downtown that recognizes a couple different individuals that's been successful. This sign is kind of like how we do for the wrestlers and the stuff that they do at the schools. They hold them, their names. We're presenting this down at the actual facility. That way when they have rodeos there and different events like that, those people can say, it's not just some old guy behind the chutes. That guy was once a world champion or this and that, or he's won multiple titles. They can actually see this name while they're eating their lunches or something like that and see that these names of what Lander County has presented to us. So, so that's where we chose to put it, is down there, and we're asking for your guys' blessing to be able to put it down there to where we can show that sign off.
Okay, good. So you guys see where the sign, where they're proposing, right, there by the pavilion? Any questions from the commission? Public have any questions or comments? Okay, I'll hear a motion.
A motion to approve the location of Livestock Board's new champion rodeo sign as requested.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right, there you go, guys.
Thank you all.
Carry on.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, yeah.
Put it straight.
Okay, so 1.6, we are tabling, correct? Okay. So we'll move into 1.7 for discussion and possible action to disapprove the letter of support from Jim French's continuation to serve on the National Wild Horse and Borough Advisory Board and authorize the commissioner chair to sign. Hey, Pam.
Hi.
Pam Harrington for the record, Natural Resource Officer for Lander County. And yeah, I'm bringing a draft letter for you guys to consider and hopefully sign to support Jim French in his reappointment to the National Wild Horse and Burro Advisory Board. Jim's been on that advisory board for the past 6 years. He's up for reappointment. He was a Humboldt County commissioner for many years, and also he worked for Endow, I think out of Elko, no, maybe not. But anyway, he worked for Endow for many years as a wildlife biologist. I know Jim personally, and I think he's done a wonderful job, and he needs some support. He has to provide 4 letters along with his paperwork to be reassigned to that board. So I'm just before you, if you guys would sign a letter for him.
Okay. Is there a motion? Are there no questions? Okay.
I'll make a motion for the,
I'll
item
second.
as presented.
Okay. We'll have a motion and a second by JR. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to 1.8 for discussion of possible action for approval of letter to BLM State Director Raby regarding emergency gathers of wild horses in Nevada and requesting that further gathers in Lander County be given high priority and authorize Commissioner Scher to sign the letter.
Thank you. Yeah, Pam Harrington again for you guys. As you know, we signed a state of emergency letter, executive order on May 4th of 2023 regarding the overpopulation of horses in Lander County. We've done some digging into this. Commissioner Thomas and Chairman Sparks, Bert, and myself attended a wild horse panel discussion in Reno 3 weeks ago, and Director Raby was part of that panel, a lot of other people as well, and he's got a plan to try and get the horses under control in 5 years, and he's using emergency orders to do a lot of that. And we're not in the queue, and we should be. So this would be a letter to ask that we get prioritized higher. We haven't had a gather in Lander County since 2011 through the Mount Lewis office. I mean, Carson takes care of the Desatoya horses, and they're at AML now. We've had a gather, the East Pershing gather was just recently done, and that included some Lander horses. It turned out about 800 horses were gathered through that, and that was through the Winnemucca office. But this office here, Mount Lewis, they're working on things, and I can bring you some more updates in the next month or so. They're working on an EA. We've got some flights planned. That's where they do population counts on the horses from the air, and they've got a schedule for some of those, but we're in bad shape still, as you guys know. I have a little table there that shows the numbers. Our best herd management area is at 206% above AML, and our worst is 9,800% above. That's because there's 98 horses there where there's supposed to be none. But anyway, so I was hoping we could send this letter just to request that we get prioritized a bit.
Commissioner, have any questions?
I have to comment that when I was driving down this morning, I probably saw 250, 300 head just right along the highway.
That's probably the Callahan complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the one that they are currently looking at they did flights on those. And they're working on the EA, so
Yeah,
those flights were done.
432%, that's huge.
Yeah, we all know this needs to be somehow solved, but as the letter states, it's pretty much an unsolvable thing because it's not natural and they don't have predators, and so we need persons to do it.
Needs to be intervention.
Yeah, so anyway, stay tuned because we've been working on this a lot and phone calls into that office. So this is a start if you would like to send that up to Director Raby.
Well, I think it's a good idea. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve sending the letter.
I'll second.
Okay, so a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Pam.
Thanks.
Okay, so we'll move into 2.1. For discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove resolution 2024-01, establishing a special revenue fund known as the opioid settlement fund.
Lake and Sullivan for the record. So we're creating a new fund for this because we're going to be receiving the settlement money for 15 plus years. So it's just easier to keep it separated and spend it just out of one fund and not have to keep spreadsheets and stuff. And we'll probably be spending it for even longer than that. So it's just cleaner that way.
Okay. All right, any question from the commission? Okay, motion?
A motion to approve resolution 2024-01, establish special revenue fund known as the opioid settlement fund.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
And a second, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, there you go.
Do you guys have to read the resolution in?
Oh,
Do we need to read the resolution? Actually, it comes up as an error. Do you have a copy of the resolution?
That should be there. It's in the attachments.
It comes up as an error on the
Comes on
attachment.
there.
I'll read it.
Yeah.
Want me to read
Mike,
it or?
Mike will read it. Thank you, Mike.
So, statement is that the Board of Lander County Commissioners adopt this resolution establishing a special revenue fund to be known as the opioid settlement fund. The purpose of this fund shall be to account for the money set aside for the collection and spending of opioid settlements for the county. The fund shall be established and maintained by the opioid settlement revenues. The expenditures and the revenues of the fund shall be controlled by the board. The board shall determine whether the balance, reserve, or retained earnings of the fund are reasonably and necessary to carry out the purpose of the fund. Upon dissolution of the opioid settlement fund, no transfer of equity that may be made available to other funds or functions may be declared until after all proper obligations have been charged against the opioid settlement fund. Dated the day 14th day of March 2024.
Okay, so we have a motion. Was there a second? In a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll move into correspondence, reports, future agenda items.
Off of this clinic, it ain't really an agenda item yet, but can we ask, or Bert, could you look at if this grant money, if it's a continual grant, is this something we can bring into the county to up the ante for our providers to where the county takes this over and we don't need Nevada Rural Health Centers, you know, to where our employees can go down and provide these services.
Like hiring another person?
Like if it's hire another person, I know we don't want to expand, or is it we able to use that to up the ante to get a full-time medical provider, that part of it is to go down and provide them services? I don't know, but.
No, that is something that myself and staff are looking into,
Okay.
especially now that we have EMS on board.
Yep.
And possibly being able to do, bi-weekly maybe trips, but I can add that to the agenda, we can get into some further discussion on it.
Can I give you a quick, the overview? The money that is paid is a grant fund that they apply for every year. And what that does, the building is owned by Lander County Convention and Tourism. And so they have to pay $6,000 a year for the rent on that. If they do any repairs or maintenance on that building, they pay for that out of their own budget, I believe. I don't know if they get Lander County for any of that or not. But that is their rent and their utilities and stuff that they pay every year to hold that building.
But, I mean, if they don't
And I
have.
think that'd be wonderful.
I mean,
We could take that $6,000 and pay somebody.
it's
to-
providing our.
Wait a second, guys, we're not,
Yeah.
it's not for
Oh,
discussion, we're
yeah,
just setting an
sorry,
agenda item,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So, yes.
So I
we'll
just-
set-
Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
set an agenda item based around that, so we can
Please.
discuss it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're right. We don't want to get in trouble with it.
Any other, future agenda items?
Bert, where are we at? I know that the insurance company finally paid for tearing down the old youth center building. Where are we at on putting one back?
Barbie, who is our insurance adjuster, and Lakin have been in some email communication. We should be hearing back from them shortly. I know that they have a design put together for it, and so I'm thinking we should be hearing back anytime now on exactly where that's at and what they're going to fund of that design.
Okay, so we can put that on the agenda.
Yep, you bet.
All right.
Okay. Anything else?
And have we had any communication response from the hydrogen and the Hughes Energy?
We've not directly spoke with Hughes Energy, but we did get our third-party response that I was talking about when my initial update to the commission. So on the 28th, we will have that third-party review come give a report to the board on what their findings were. And then we will also hopefully be entering into a contract with Hughes Energy somewhere around that same time. It might even be on the agenda depending on where legal's at, with some exceptions to some thresholds that have to be met with timelines. That way they can secure their funding to proceed forward, and if they don't secure that funding to proceed forward, then we could go back out and start advertising our rail site.
That's all I have.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move into public comment for non-agendized items only. Is there public comment?
Morning, Commissioners. Phil Herring for the Operating Engineers. For the record, I just wanted to say thank you for approving item 1.9 on the agenda. When that hit the public Monday, I got nothing but good calls. Usually that's not what I get. I usually get calls of frustration and hate. So I want to thank you guys. There was a lot of time and effort went into this study and went into this chart for you guys to approve. And I just want to say thank you. And I think the membership will appreciate it as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners.
All right, so any other public comment? Okay, I'll hear a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks, everybody.